Good morning, everybody. I can't believe it's already 70 degrees outside. Wow. Or that's what's going to be today. I don't know what it's currently. All right, anyway, so yeah, it was pretty uneventful last night. Dog coughed a few times, and I blew my nose like super a few times. Tried to like go back to sleep and snark it down, but no, my immune system is like, nah, you ain't snarking that shit down. We're going to recycle it right back up through your nose again. You're going to feel it again until you get it out. So yeah, your immune system is really when it's supposed to work, when it's allowed to work, it doesn't allow you to just hold off on blowing your nose and getting rid of it. You can't just snark it up and swallow it and think, okay, I can go to sleep now. No, it comes right back up. So I'm like, all right, I'm waking up. So anyways, I so I figured out, of course, last night when I wrote about the T-regs and the B-regs, that would be its own separate chapter. But I also wanted to let you know why I'm not using the allegory of witches and wiccans and warlocks and wizards. Okay, yeah, we know that Disney has permeated everything in our world and it has developed the archetypes and everybody in it. Okay, fine. But if I were to go and say, okay, you're all are witches and sorcerers and sorceresses and warlocks and wizards, then I'd be reinforcing that programming. And so I think subconsciously, I knew that I could not be using that in my book as a way to explain all the magic. You know, it's all science and chemistry and physics, okay? That's all magic is. And we have to really come from that point of view, because then what happens is then humans then live in that fantasy world. And you see all over Facebook, Comic-Con, all the different fantastic creatures of the movies that are now being lived out in people's lives. And they are taking on these archetypes and these personas and these characters, and they don't even know it. They think that's just who they are. They think that's just, and you're just like, okay, no, you're taking on a persona. You're like a princess. You're a sexual lover. You're a, I don't know, a porn star, same thing. You're a villain, you're this, you're that, you're a rebel. I mean, all the archetypes that are in the Jungian psychotherapy in Disney is being played out on a grand stage all over the world. And I'm saying, nope, sorry, it's time to grow up. It's time to get out of your Barbie dream houses, and it's time to grow up and mature. Obviously, not everyone's going to do it, but this is the future, that we have now finally grown-ups in our society who are mature, who can now see what magic truly is, and it's physics and chemistry. And so I said witches, warlocks, wizards, and wiccans, vampires, demons, werewolves are all allegory. Okay, even people in the Bible, they're allegory. Though there are characters that are probably real people who took on characteristics, or that was somebody's storyline that may have taken some event and exaggerated and turn it into a moral, turn it into an allegory, okay? And I understand that, because that's how you develop a society. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. This is how you get people to be programmed in a specific job and a specific thing, and you have 7.9 billion people with acting out the same characters. So you may have, 1 billion are all sexual lovers, another billion are all like intellectuals, another billion are all this, and we can break it down to even not 1 billion, say 100,000, or like all the 16 different personalities and 12 different archetypes. And then you see just how much redundancy in the population. But then, if you have like millions and millions of towns and provinces, and you're going to have your lawyers and your sexual lovers and your rebels and your intellectuals and your architects and your leaders. So you got to have that redundancy, so each town has its representation of a smooth working society. So I understand it from that perspective. But okay, now that we have that platform to work from, let's graduate from that. Let's mature from that. Let's get out of the fantasy world. Okay? And so princesses and princes and fairies and sprites are all allegory archetypes. If you identify with any of the characters in algorithm, that is a programming. Even emulating Bible characters. All allegory. And you're seeing it on the grand stage. I watched last night The Sins of the Mother, which was about Daybell and Vallo, who murdered, Daybell or Vallo murdered her children And it was all from the extreme Christian faith, I guess some sect of the LDS, and then I guess Chad Daybell, who was one of the antagonists or one of the villains in this show, which is really a true story. It's been going on, the court case and everything. He deemed himself the one that knows who the demons are and the dark ones, the dark spirits, and who are the light spirits and all that shit. And so they really took the allegory to the most extreme. That's what you see out there, even out there in the world. People are taking the Bible so literally. They're taking all these stories so fucking literally that they don't even know what reality is anymore, and they're acting out stuff. And they get triggered when someone says, "Oh, you don't know this or you don't know that." I just saw another article about some guy saying he shot somebody because the guy accused him of not knowing the Bible, not knowing, the true heart of Jesus or something. And it's just like, oh my God. And so that's why the mainstream media is harping on the whole cult, the religious cults, because a lot of people do take that shit too far. It's insane. So that's why I kind of stay on my own, because there's so much of the extremists in all of their perspective, politics, religion, and science, that you don't really know what people are capable of, and you just don't know really anything about people anymore. Not when these frequencies and people's immune systems are now outside of their body. When you think about it, everything that all their facades and things that were hidden underneath, layers and layers of programming are all now coming to surface. And so, yeah, the CDC was right, about the Walking Dead, or sorry, the zombie apocalypse. And so, yeah, I mean, so anyway, so even Emily Bible characters is playing with allegory. All allegory. Shakespeare and those of the like knew exactly what they were doing when they developed the storylines. And it was helpful to develop a working society. But now it's time to break the character. Now it's time to break character. Now it's time to say, okay, I'm going to grow up and okay, I get humor and sexuality and intellect and rebel, villain, leader, all that stuff has a place, and you have to bring on your character relative to the company you keep. I understand that. But it's figuring out that you don't have to predominantly play a character throughout your whole everything. I don't know. I mean, I understand that we have different company we keep and we have to put on a character. But is there a way to even grow up from the character you're playing with present company, or with company that you're dealing with? Do you have to be the Joker in this present company? Do you have to be the intellectual all time in this company? Can you jockey between all your personalities and be and then actually infuse some maturity to your character? And so that's I guess what I'm saying, because I mean, obviously people do rely on their characters, rely on what has got them by, and it is giving them the wit, it's giving them an access to intellect. Excuse me, jeez. I'm telling you, getting rid of all this shit and it's like crazy. I just drank some milk too, so whatever. But and so it's helpful to develop a working society, but now it's time to break character. And so we are in a golden age of scientific projects that involve the general public. And so citizen scientists, that's the thing that we are all on, on Facebook and social media. And if you can on YouTube, though YouTube is really sensitive, but try to be a citizen scientist. Try to be someone that is not using antibiotics, not using all the remedies, and is feeding your body, realizing that there is going to be personality changes as you release the layers and layers and layers and layers of antibiotic programming that was forced upon you in utero and also in your genetic line. And then also when you thought that the right thing to do was always go check into a doctor or a holistic professional every time you felt something. Okay, and so now we're in that golden age of citizen scientists who are peeling back the layers of programming. And you're seeing it. I mean, some people are in the conspiracy world and they're staying in there and they're not going to leave it. So that's just one layer they peeled back, but that's as far as they're going to go. Others are even going beyond that. And I went way, way to the other end, and I'm peeling back politics and religion and the scientific layers of programming to where I'm just like, okay, now everyone's kind of messed up and everyone's living a fucking character and no one's maturing and everyone's living out whatever, fantasy that they think that is what is supposed to be. They're still living in 1985 or 1975, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm living with a bunch of ghosts right now, or I'm residing in a world full of ghosts that the time is a fucking ticking for a lot of them. And so then, how do you now interact with people? Well, you still honor them and you still respect them, but you know that they're acting out of character, and you just be like, okay, you're acting out your character, I'm just going to be over here and just act out my character, whatever that is. And morning, Robert, and just chill out and watch the world just do its thing, and watch all the entertainment. Because really, when you think about it, life is entertaining because people are acting out the characters in life. Just, again, look at the archetypes, Disney and all of that, and the movies. Okay, California's full of them. It wouldn't surprise me if all the gangs and all that stuff that were in the 80s and the 70s and all that stuff were developed by think tanks in California. Because I remember being surrounded by the Crips, the Bloods, and that was because I ran away from home and ended up in institutions that were taking in juveniles from the Crips, the Bloods, the Norteños, the Sureños, and there's a whole thing in the prison system and all of that. I mean, California is like the hub of characters. And then you have, the mafia stuff, and I'm here in Ohio. There's a lot of ex-mafia or present mafia, Italian, and there's different gangs too, like, different bicycle gangs and all that stuff. And so bicycle gangs, you know what I mean? And okay, and that's fine. I mean, if there is going to always be that push between good and evil, we're going to buck the system. We're going to trade in drugs and all this other stuff. Okay, there's always a market for that. But I wouldn't be surprised if all of these different types of cultures and belief systems and gangs and all that weren't thought up by some think tank. And Jillian, is everything conspiracy? Is everything? Well, humans, we obviously tend to find like-minded people, but where do these like minds come from? Somebody had to introduce us to a different way of thinking. And it could be, you're from the north and I'm from the south, so let's wear our colors and let's do this. Let's fly our colors and do the gang signs. And then the movies, like you see in the movies back in the 80s and the 90s, it was all about South Central LA and different, places like, in the Latino gangs and all that. And so it then reality becomes fantasy, becomes reality. They reinforce each other. And then what is it, the chicken or the egg? Where did it start first? And so maybe now it's time to break character. Maybe now it's time to break character, okay? And now it's time that you aren't the rebel, you aren't the savior, you aren't whatever, and you start peeling back whatever layers of programming that even now you're emulating, even now that you're exhibiting. That is there a different way to relate to the world without being in character? Is there a different way? What is that way? Well, you have to peel back the programming first. You have to release the demons. That's what I've been doing, is releasing layers and layers and layers. And I had to get sick and I had to feel all the anxiety and the pain and feel like I had lead in my joints. I had to face my own predispositions. I had to face my own history. I had to face the fucking COVID in its million forms because I had predisposed issues that I was willing to face finally. And so COVID could be like 50 times for people if they have 50 issues in their body. Because what makes COVID COVID? Because there's a specific biomarker that started off to begin with that was really strong. And then it got reinforced by all the different therapies, whatever they were, because it's just humans that were afflicted by the COVID, mutating the DNA being used, the spike proteins being used as a therapy to then, trigger the immune system, develop antibodies, so it can feel like it can assimilate when it does get involved and does get exposed to that algorithm, allegory. All that, right? And so that's what COVID is, okay? It's just a very specific biomarker that is then making its way through the population. And when you get infected and then your body brings up mucus and brings up things from it, then there's going to be a multitude of the same biomarker that your DNA is going to represent. It's like a child. When a child comes in this world, it's its own DNA, and it's going to infect everybody. Everybody infects everybody. We all have some version of the people that we've ever come in contact with, whether it's sexually or whether it's just in the same room and you're exchanging, spittle back and forth. You are getting some representation of everything that you've ever been exposed to, whether it's for 2 seconds or for like 5 hours. Okay. And so I had to deal with this COVID and face all my demons and peel back the layers. And it was back to back to back sick. I was been sick for the last 2 years, finally hitting all of the different predisposed issues that I kind of cured with the J juice because I didn't know any better. And so that's why I was feeling great, a couple years ago. And I'm like, hey, look at me. I'm really skinny and I look great. And I look at my makeup and I played that game. And then I realized that really being cured was not the way to go. Being cured was what would destroy somebody, because you can only hold that curedness for so long relative to the environment and the people around you. And so then I knew I had to then feel the sickness. When people were saying, oh yeah, J juice is so great, J juice is so great, and they weren't feeling anything, that was great because we knew that it wasn't poison, it wasn't, bad like people were saying, though people that were getting their predisposed issues coming to surface didn't like me because they didn't get that point of being cured. And so, of course, there's a split. But then I wanted you guys to then feel the sickness, because I got off the J juice and I was feeling sickness from my own predisposed issues, and also mixing in with those that had all the COVID stuff. And I was getting through it. I was blowing my nose. I was feeling it. Like I said, you guys, you have to feel the sickness. So if I'm trying to cure myself with something, then that would be hypocritical. So I got off the J juice. I didn't need it anymore because I already recalibrated like 50 million times. And so I was feeling the COVID, but I was feeling really the COVID upsetting my predisposed issues, and I was facing my own demons. But I wanted you guys to do that too. I wanted you guys to glorify facing your demons. But that, again, from switching from being cured, and that's what we were doing, to then saying, okay, now you got to face your demons. That was a hard transition. That was a really hard transition for a lot of people. And then when I switched the salt from the pink salt to the white salt, people were freaking out because like, oh my God, white salt poison. No, nothing is poison if it's FDA approved or as a food. Now, as far as FDA approved as a drug, I would never take anything FDA approved as a drug or not approved as a drug. I wouldn't take any drugs. No matter how small it is, I wouldn't take any remedies. If I'm feeling like this, like I'm blowing my nose and stuff, I'm not going to take Mucinex. I'm going to keep blowing my nose. I'm going to keep hawking out loogies. I'm going to exercise my diaphragm to work the way it's supposed to and peel back the layers and train my body to release without using lemon water, without using a binder, without using anything that's in the holistic world that is being hawked or being, not hawked, I would say, is being sold as some kind of remedy or some kind of detox. I'm watching the Netflix movies Unwell and Afflicted, and I'm just like, holy shit, we have fucked up our systems. Because I used to do the lemon water. I used to take all the essential oils. I'm watching this guy on Unwell, and I couldn't even watch anymore because it was just nauseating. But this guy has a family, and he's putting essential oils in his shakes and his drinks, and he has a podcast, and he has a cute wife, and yes, they are very Christian. And he has like 5 kids or 4 kids, and he's putting essential oils inside the drinks, the shakes that he's giving them. I'm just like, oh my God. But that's the medical holistic industry training you to destroy your family. But it's like, oh, it's about, he's justified it because all the chemicals that are in processed food. And so that's how he's justifying putting the processed chemicals in his children's shakes. So I'm like, so if you're against the chemicals in the processed food, and then you're gonna put chemicals in your kids' shakes, your organic shakes, what the fuck are you doing? And so I was just like, okay, whatever. So I've been down that road of and playing those games, and it's, oh my God, it is like, it's crazy. And so yeah, we are in a major reckoning, and all of those essential oils and antibiotics and tinctures and everything in the holistic world, the people that say, oh, I'm a witch, I'm a Wiccan, I'm a princess, I'm a prince, or whatever. I mean, even the royal family. I mean, I don't want to knock them or anything. Yeah, Audrey. I don't want to knock the royal family, but yeah, they're playing their characters too. Now, eventually, I think the world's saying, okay, no more monarchy. Now it's time for us to finally let's just be humans, and let's everybody, compete on a level playing field. And so, and now it's time to break the programming, peel back the layers. No more of that, of playing that part of whatever was forced on you when you were in school, what your parents' parts, what they were playing, because they were playing a part too. And now it's time for us to mature. So it's time to get down to your primary antibodies by releasing confused prior antibiotics programming and then acquire balanced immunity. And that means that you have to now peel back those layers, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to be hard, because the antibodies that have parasited off you, the host, don't want to leave, but you don't force them out. You feed them, and then you feed yourself, and then you get stronger because you are the self antigen that's stronger than all the antibodies, and then you gently throw them out of your house without destroying yourself in the process. And that's going to be like a lot of things in people's lives when they have like 1,000 friends, and then 999 of them are all antibiotic. How do you thrust out 999 friends out of your world? Well, that's going to take some finesse and some strategy, and you got to be diplomatic about it, and that's difficult, especially when you realize what's going on, and you want to just be like, tear down the whole house, but you have to do it. You have to tear down parts of your house and fix it as you keep tearing down and fixing, tear down and fixing, tear down, until your house is now rebuilt to be a house that's for you and not somebody else's house. And that's essentially what the JJ world is. It's a transition process. But that would mean that you'd have to release your character. And some of you don't even know how to release your character because that's been you your whole life. The medical holistic system has turned you into an activist. The medical holistic system has turned you into a princess. The medical holistic system has turned you into a sexual deviant. The medical holistic system has turned people into so many characters out there that you see all over Facebook, that for them to break character would mean that even their livelihood would be in question and would be challenged. And that is a hard thing to face when you rely on, interesting, my internet's off right here. Oh no, here we go. Okay. So when you rely on those characters and that. So anyways, just want you to, I'm going to get off now because I'm going to do some typing stuff, but I want you to start acknowledging the character you're playing in this world, and realize that it's time to grow up. There is nobody going after you. If no one's coming into your house and forcing you to do anything, then no one's coming after you. And you can't save other people. If other people are going to do therapies and do the oncologies and do all their tinctures and all their antibiotics, if you want to warn them, you got to do it in an intelligent way. And that means you have to exemplify someone who is maturing from the system, maturing from the archetypes that was forced on you. You're going to have to be the one to exemplify somebody who understands what's going on and can talk about it in an intellectual, articulate, calm way that isn't forcing people to take a side. That you actually are, you know the dangers of the tinctures, the dangers of the drugs, whether they're street drugs or legalized drugs or prescription drugs. You know the dangers, but if you don't know the dangers of them, and can't talk about it in a scientific way, that they build up antibodies, that when you're taking an orange essential oil that has orange components in it, and you're attacking your DNA, whether you think it's a cancer or a wart, that's your DNA. Then your body will build a defense system against it. So when you eat an orange and you get mucus, now you're allergic to oranges, now you saw what you did to yourself. You have to know your immune system, how it reacts, how it gets triggered, why there is an immune response. Because you train your body to have an immune response against your whole environment because of the medical holistic system that keeps you cured with antibiotics. That's how you talk about it to your world. And then you start peeling back the layers. You start purging out all that antibiotic programming. And yeah, it's painful and it's not easy. And you can't do it with so many of the different aggressive elements, even the JJ world, because you can't cure yourself. You can, but then you'll end up emaciated, so skinny that you won't have what it takes to deal with a new aggressive information, like a virus, which is somebody else's DNA that has mutated that version of the virus and made it so strong that can you handle that shockwave? Can you handle the frequencies? See, some of you are at the precipice of where it'll be questionable in the next few years, because your body has so many antibodies that have been programmed against the nutrition in your food supply that you're not even absorbing nutrition, because you have antibodies attacking the nutritional elements that are coming in. And so people are getting skinnier and skinnier. They're eating, but they're getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Well, you wonder why. Because you're feeding the enemy inside your body, and he ain't feeding you. And that's exactly what's going on. All right, bye.